Vice President J.D. Vance bringing the Trump administration's crackdown on fraud to Wisconsin. Vance championed the administration's efforts, using it as a moment to promote the Republicans in the upcoming midterm elections.
We've got a party that is fighting for fraud and a party that is fighting against fraud. And I don't know about you, but how about we give more authority, more power, and more influence to the party that is trying to save your money and send the fraudsters to prison? That's all we're trying to do. When we allow that money that ought by rights go to feed poor children, but instead goes to fraudsters, we destroy the social fabric of the United States of America.
Let's bring in Federal Trade Commission Chairman Andrew Ferguson. He's also the Vice Chair of the White House Anti-Fraud Task Force. Welcome to you, sir. So please do add to what we heard from Vice President Vance yesterday. He has been on this, and he is touting what they say are the many successes in not only rooting out this fraud, but going after the fraudsters themselves.
Yeah, I mean, this all starts with President Trump's leadership. He's the first president to take this seriously. And the president wanted an all-of-government approach, which means you need someone that sort of sits above the rest of the government to really get this done. And that's why Vice President Vance's leadership is so important. And the stats speak for themselves. Tens of billions of dollars of fraud discovered and payments prevented from leaving the government that otherwise would have gone to fraudsters. Hundreds of people indicted or facing prison. And also, I mean, this has gone a little bit below the radar, but it shouldn't. Kash Patel and the FBI, they have been chasing some of the biggest fraudsters that the United States has from the top 10 most wanted list all over the world. Somalia, the Philippines, Turkey. 4 years ago, we had an FBI that was prosecuting grandmothers for praying the rosary outside of abortion clinics. And today, the FBI is chasing fraudsters down to the ends of the world. The wins are just getting racked up every day, and it's because of President Trump and Vice President Vance. And that's what he was saying yesterday in Wisconsin.
And in some cases, Mr. Chairman, doing it without the cooperation of some of the state leaders, like in the case of Wisconsin. This was J.D. Vance yesterday on the governor's refusal to hand over the SNAP rolls. Listen here.
So what we've asked the governor to do is just give us the data so that we can check whether you've got illegal aliens on your food stamp rolls, and he's saying absolutely not. And I think the only plausible explanation for that is that he cares more about protecting illegal aliens than he does the good citizens of Wisconsin. It's a scam, and it has to stop.
So what has the cooperation been like for this effort to go into these states and root out this fraud?
Vice President's right, especially for programs like SNAP, where the federal government funds the programs, but the states administer the programs, and they just get block grants from the federal government. The federal government at this point doesn't have good insight into who actually receives this money. And so we've been asking the states, work with us here, show us where the money is going so that we can ensure that federal taxpayer dollars are not going to the worst people in the world. And a lot of the red states are cooperating, the blue states are not. And I don't know what else to infer from the fact that they're not cooperating, other than they're trying to protect the fraudsters. And I don't know what to infer from that other than the Democrats are in on this. And I think it's a huge problem. You got to ask why Democrat governors would want to prevent us from finding the fraudsters. And I think it raises a lot of suspicions about the Democrats themselves.
I want to finish off with the Trump administration launching this first major investigation into the H-1B visa situation and fraud there. This was the Labor Department Inspector General Anthony Desposito on with Maria yesterday. Listen.
And this is another example where fraud is fueling violent crime. Much of the visa and the human trafficking that we see when it comes to this foreign labor is tied to cartels, is tied to transnational gangs. And this is the work that we should be doing, not only to make America safe again, but to make America more affordable again.
Another example of how this fraud runs deep, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I totally agree. Look, if we're going to have this H-1B program, I know there's a lot of debate about that, but if we're going to have it, we at least need to make sure that people are using it for the actual purpose of bringing in highly specialized labor and not for human trafficking, and just as bad, hiring foreigners rather than hiring Americans. If companies are doing that, they should suffer the consequences of that. And I think that the Acting Secretary of Labor, Keith Sonderling, and Inspector General Desposito are doing a phenomenal job by shining a light on this problem and making sure that people who commit H-1B fraud are going to suffer the consequences.
Chairman Ferguson, appreciate your time today, sir. Thank you very much. All right, Bill?
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox 1.